Back to the Future's 40th anniversary.
It is.
One of the things that really struck me, the relationship between Doc and Marty is one of the most unique relationships we've seen on screen. Why do you think it's resonated so well with the audiences?
Well, on a certain level, Doc is the father that Marty doesn't have. And so Doc is the guy that does all the crazy stuff that your parents always told you never do that, right? So the idea that he finds this adult who does all this stuff says, okay, wait a minute. You can grow up and still be a little crazy, and it's okay. And Doc doesn't judge him at all. And so there's no judgment there. It was, I mean, the story of how they met was that Marty tried to sneak into Doc's lab. Doc found him in there, and he said, oh, you made it. You figured out how to get into my lab. You want a job? So it's like, okay, yeah. And on a very sort of abstract level, when I grew up, my immediate next door neighbor was a professional photographer who had a dark room in his basement. And when I was in like second and third grade, he would let us come, my brothers and I, with our Brownie cameras. He'd develop our pictures in his basement, in his dark room. And for me, he was Doc Brown. He was the coolest guy I could ever imagine, to have all this great equipment and to make magic right there. So that was always in my head when we thought about Doc and his relationship with Marty.
Now, there's obviously well-documented a lot of difficulties making the film, well-documented. My question is, if you had a time machine, would you go back and change it to make it smoother, or do you think the difficulties would made Back to the Future special?
You know what? The lesson of Back to the Future Part 2 is don't mess around with the space-time continuum. So I wouldn't mess with it at all. I mean, the story has a really happy ending, right? I'm here 40 years later getting the George Pal Award. What could be better than that?